Oh my.
I know, I was going to say.
We're live.
Okay. Welcome to the 10:30 on February 25th, 2026. I call this meeting to order. The first item is ordinance closing a portion of an easement located at 1728 North Rockford. Anybody here to talk on that? Item number 2. Morning. Good morning.
Paul Zachary, Public Works. We do have a request to close some easements for redevelopment. There were no utilities. We researched this with all our right-of-way occupants, and all utility folks reviewed, all city departments looked at, and we found no buried utilities or anything from ours in this area. So we are recommending approval of this, and we're trusting in the redevelopment. If it's lot splits or whatever, we'll be able to take care of everything. But no lots are isolated. There's no adverse things created. So it looks like, and we have no idea on his redevelopment plans, but we have no need for the easement shown, and we recommend approval of closing those easements.
All right, any questions?
Who is it? Do you know what it's zoned? Is it residential?
It looks like it's all residential. Here's a copy of the.
I'll back up on that.
This isn't in your hand, but
Okay.
it's those two easements right there. They're just big, and nobody knows why they're there. So
Frank's hand and fingerprints.
it was a plat from 1965.
Okay.
We just thought that digital stuff on our phones was new. They were doing it back in '65. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, anything else? Item number 3, it's a change order for $52,734.76 in project number 147250.
Yes, sir. This is part of the City of Tulsa Woodward Park improvements. It's down in front of the bluff area where the ponds are, and we have a large 96-inch storm sewer running through that area. We're encountering a lot of unstable soils beyond that which was ever expected. This change order is for a vault, and this is work that was done necessary to do the redesign of the junction box and also give the contractor his additional days. So this is in place, and I'm just going to say right now we are at 1.89% of the contract price, which is at $5.7 million. Its value now is right at $5.7 million. We'd recommend approval of this. This had to be done, or the junction box couldn't be constructed. But just as a note, there are more unsuitable soils, and we're trying to get costs and all that worked out. We're working with city legal as well. We've really run into a mess out there, and we're working with the contractor, and everything's good right now. But we're going to be back here before you all with some future change orders that we're going to have to do to be able to finish this project.
Okay. Council District 4, anything on that?
Nope.
Okay. Item 4, another change order for $31,679 and some change near the west parking lot of Turkey Mountain.
Yes, sir. We've been working on the two parking lots. They're on West 61st Street, up where Elwood comes up at the bend. We've concreted in that old gravel lot that's been gravel forever, cleaned up. We've got some lights added in there, and then we've got a brand new lot to the west of there, and we were constructing it. And some of the slopes on there, we believe for long-term sustainability, we needed to put some additional cover on that to make sure we didn't cause some cracking in the parking lot. And that additional slope revetment and treatment was $31,679.90. And we would recommend approval of this change order for the preservation of the lot. And I will say that the contractor did move forward and do this on his own because he did not want to risk having to redo some of that parking lot, which would have been more expensive for us. So just let you know, if you go out there, you will see it's already completed, but that was preservation of the parking lot. And they know they did it at risk, but we would fully recommend approval of this change order.
It's looking good. I drive by it every day, and it's better to do it on the front end than the back end.
Yes, sir.
Yep. Does look good. That's open and functional. Both of the ones up there. 5, ordinance amending the budget for $6,115 for Violence Against Women Act education-related stuff.
Good morning, Jared Moore, Budget Office. This is a grant award for the police department, $6,115. It will be used by them to pay for continuing clinical education for nurses that are working within the Violence Against Women program. They'll get refresher courses, or I think there's an online class they can take, but this will help pay for them.
Okay, any questions? Item 6, budget amendment for $400,000 for violent crime prevention.
This is a violent crime prevention grant award to the police department from the Oklahoma Attorney General's Safe Oklahoma Grant Program. It'll be used to pay for additional overtime for various programs to reduce and prevent violent crimes. On the RFA, you can see it'll be split amongst 5 different units within the police department. And I can list them out loud if you like.
Guns, narcotics, human trafficking, and fugitive warrants. And then violent crime directed patrol.
Yes, sir.
There you go.
Good.
I listened.
Good job.
Appreciate that.
Questions? Item 7, budget amendment for $3,000-ish for Mingo Creek detention, $126,000 for downtown detention, and then $37,000 for Crow Creek detention, among other things.
This is a budget action. It's kind of just administrative paperwork in nature. This is just reducing appropriations to take the money back to unassigned cash balance to sit within the stormwater detention funds to be ready. These projects that you see reduced are all completed, or have been for a while. So this will put the money back in cash so that Public Works or Water and Sewer, when they are presented with their next opportunity for a project, will be able to have the money to do it. The money's collected as for a fee in lieu of permit for stormwater detention. If a developer, it's impractical to build, or if a regional center already exists, they can just pay this and it goes into like a pooled amount to be used for the region.
Okay. Anyone? Anything? Next item is a budget amendment of about $250,000 plus another $95,000 for water revenue bond debt service related issues.
This is also a cleanup action. Try to get this right. These projects are completed that you listed. The water main replacement, water quality assurance lab, Southside secondary system enhancement, this particular portion of the Uchi Dam repairs, the flow line for Spavinaw-Uliga and Mohawk maintenance. The component of those projects that was funded out of this bond is now completed. The cash that was behind this was used to pay off debt service on these bonds previously, and so we are just reducing the appropriations of the remaining balance to net out with what's actually there now,
Okay.
to balance the books.
Yep. Questions? Anybody want to really dig in on that one? No? Okay.
Exciting.
9, budget amendment ordinance for a little over $1 million, and then $119,000 plus an additional $2,300 for water treatment and detention-related structures.
This is more cleanup on the part of water and sewer staff. They're the 3 funds: the Stormwater Capital Projects Fund, the Sewer Capital Projects Fund, and the Water Capital Projects Fund. They're just sweeping completed projects and moving them to other projects that are still ongoing. The projects that we're reducing are all completed, and we'll be moving the funds to citywide repair and rehabilitation, and, the town center detention, I believe, in the stormwater fund. In the water fund, it's gonna go to A.B. Jewell to finish work, and in the sewer fund, it's gonna go to citywide sewer rehabilitation. Just moving money from completed projects to ongoing projects to use up existing balances. No, we're about to get to yours.
All right, number 10, ordinance amending the budget for $48 million for fertilizer product expansion program and $9.6 million from grant revenues received from the Department of Ag, and then $38.4 million from RMUA capital projects.
So Tom couldn't have timed it more perfectly. I'll go over just the quick movement of the budget, and then if you have questions about the fertilizer project itself, Mr. Bragg here can answer them. Essentially, we're appropriating this $48 million into a grant fund project for reporting purposes. 34.8, I believe, is coming from RMUA, and then 9.6 is a USDA grant that is also being appropriated, and combined it makes that 48 million, and it will be used to track expenses related to the Hakey Fertilizer Product Expansion Program project.
You might want to explain just a little bit.
Yes.
Yeah, big numbers.
Yeah, as part of our fiscal year '26 capital improvement program for the Water and Sewer Department, one of the largest projects we have on the books this year is completing design and advertising the project for bids. Right now, we truck dozens of thickened sludge or biosolids from Hakey Creek to Southside because Hakey Creek is not truly a standalone plant. For those of you that are familiar with wastewater treatment, there's a liquid treatment process and there's a solids process, and we separate the solids from the liquids, and we have to treat, dispose of both in accordance with the EPA and our state DEQ agencies and our permits. And so right now, it's causing lots of issues, safety concerns, inability to find classified truck drivers. The way we're doing it right now, it limits growth in our Southside treatment basin because Southside is having to treat biosolids for both plants. And so the business case that we prepared a few years back showed that it was in the best interest of the city and the Water and Sewer Department to make Hakey Creek, that we share with the city of Broken Arrow, its own standalone plant. And in lieu of anaerobic digestion for a plant this size, what we ended up with, and we evaluated dozens of options for how to treat biosolids. And we came up with a much simpler way that we use at the larger plants with anaerobic digestion and using anaerobic bacteria, is actually dewatering the biosolids, aerating it in static piles, mixing it with wood chips, and developing compost to go from a Class B material that we currently land apply from our larger plants to what's a more environmentally friendly Class A material from our Hakey Creek facility. I can keep going on.
Oh, yeah. She's just in the queue.
Just queuing up with a really technical
Just
question
put
that
her
I think you'll
order
have fun
in.
answering.
We're not ready.
And so right now, for anyone that wants to attend at the RMUA quarterly board meeting on March 11th at 8 a.m., we're giving a project presentation update. We're between 95 and 100% complete on design right now for this capital improvement project at the Hakey Creek Wastewater Treatment Plant. And that plant treats about 55% City of Tulsa flow and about 45% City of Broken Arrow flow. And so it's a charter that we've had set up, since the early 70s, I think, and it works very well. But both the City of Broken Arrow, the RMUA board, and folks here at the city felt like it was long overdue to actually make Hakey Creek a standalone plant, mitigate the safety issues and the environmental issues we have with the current process, and also to allow growth in our other basins. And so that's the reason for the project, and it will turn the Hakey Creek Wastewater Treatment Facility into a compost producing and we're putting a business plan together for it. It's not anything we're going to get rich on. It's just going to be a small revenue generator. And we're looking more at wholesale sales of compost material versus individual bagging like you see at Home Depot.
Does BA put a proportionate amount into this facility?
Yes.
Or how is that
And
handled?
so operations and maintenance is split based on a 3-year average flow split, which runs about 45%, 55%. So the city of Broken Arrow pays 45% of the O&M, we pay 55% of the O&M based on flow split. But several years back, the city of Broken Arrow wanted an equal seat at the table for decision-making on capital improvements. And the way our agreement reads that we renew every 5 years with them is the city of Tulsa manages planning and design, and the city of Broken Arrow manages construction. Even though they don't have to per the charter and per the agreements, they're contributing 50/50 on the project. And so 9.6 million of it, we applied 2 or 3 years back. The USDA realized that, especially with the Ukraine-Russia conflict, there's a shortage of fertilizer in the U.S. for agriculture. And so they put out a significant amount of funds to produce more fertilizer here in the U.S. And we benefited in that we're getting a 20% grant for our project, and we're only having to fund 80% of the capital improvements ourselves. And of that 38.4 million, we're 2 million, and Broken Arrow is 19.2 million. And so 20% of the project's being funded through a federal grant from the USDA Rural Development.
Okay, so this action from the city of Tulsa just authorizes 19.2, not 38.4? Or how is this handled? It says 38.4 here.
The action itself is for the 48 million to place in appropriations in this grant fund, and it gets in front of like city, TMUA, RMUA, et cetera, but.
It sets up an RMUA account.
It's kind of a
And it's
container.
both the 19.2 million from Tulsa, the 19.2 million from the city of Broken Arrow, and the 9.6 million from USDA. We just executed the grant agreement earlier this month. I think it was on the mayor's agenda. But we just executed the grant, so now the next step is for us to set up the account number so that we can advertise the project for bid in
Okay.
the next couple of months.
Yeah, the cost to Tulsa taxpayers for this is 19.2, not 38.
Yeah, for our
Councilor
ratepayers.
Ellis.
Sorry.
This was just a really technical curiosity once he was getting into anaerobic
Wood chips
bacteria.
and-
Shocking, yeah. No, I was just curious, related to, since you tend to have different questions about biosolids and things like that. Is there a certain, once you all have gone through that process and before it's becoming fertilizer that then people are accessing, are there certain testing or like you're looking for certain parts per million, like?
Yes,
Yeah.
we have to do a significant amount of testing, just like we do on our current biosolids. So from north side, or from south side, we land apply processed and digested Class B biosolids. It's a much drier cake material. North side facility does not have dewatering capabilities, so we actually have to land apply wet sludge to our customers, our agricultural customers. With this particular product, this is Class A, which makes it more environmentally friendly, to where you can actually use it in residential lots. You can use it for agricultural reasons, for growing crops. On Class B material, you cannot do that. You can use it for hay production, but you have to take the cows off the field for a certain time. I think it's 30 days or 60 days before you put them back on to eat the hay generated from the fertilizer. But we do a lot of testing before it goes out to the public. That's a state and federal requirement.
That's what I was curious, I'm sure that's an ODEQ, EPA.
Yes.
Has there been a lot of regulatory whiplash there, or is the standards pretty consistent over the past few
The standards for
years?
Class B and Class A biosolids have been consistent for decades.
Okay.
The one thing that we're paying close attention to is PFAS
Right.
regulations, because PFAS is everywhere. And even though we're a passive receiver of PFAS, we don't have a Teflon manufacturer in our watershed or someone that makes O-rings or anything like that. There is some minor industries that produce PFAS in our system, but we're now just starting to test. There's no federal or state requirement for it, but it's been a buzz at the state capitol with regards to that. So we're paying close attention to it. The one thing that we like about moving forward with this project is because there is a small amount of PFAS that does attach itself to biosolids. It's not as prevalent in the liquid stream, it needs something to attach to, is that we're diluting it with wood chips, so the concentrations are very low. So even if a state limit hits for wastewater biosolids, we're pretty comfortable that we're going to be well below that threshold.
Okay, thank you so much.
Yeah, I think you may have answered the question. What takes it from Class B to Class A is the wood chips.
No, it's the type of process. It's more expensive typically to take it from Class B to Class A through different methods of digestion. But because of the size of the Hickey Creek plant compared to the larger plants, this falls in that window to where composting is actually more cost-effective than aerobic digestion or anaerobic digestion to actually break down the pollution to make it safe to land apply. But there's many methods that can get you from Class B to Class A. We just have not invested in those in the past. This is just an opportunity for us to do so with the addition of a new biosolids treatment facility at the Hickey Creek plant.
Thank you.
Yeah, so I really appreciate that information on the PFAS. It's really vital and it's important for the future of our gardens and what we get from the ag industry as far as food goes. I'm just wondering, the meeting on March 11th at 8 a.m., where is that going to be located?
Oh, I'm sorry, yeah, the TMUA meetings, which meet second and fourth Wednesdays of the
Right.
month, are at 10 North here at OTC
Right, okay.
Conference Room. Quarterly, we have the RMUA board meetings, and then they're in the same room, and
Okay.
it starts at 8 a.m. before the TMUA meeting
Okay.
on March 11th.
Right, okay. That's the one I wanted to know about, was the ARM meeting. Thank you.
Anyone else? All right, item 11, thank you. Budget amendment ordinance for $338,000 and change for wastewater infrastructure.
This is appropriating a donation to TMUA so that we can continue a stub out to a private property, essentially. So they're paying for their own construction, just allowing us to roll it into work we're already doing.
Okay. Anyone? 12, budget amendment ordinance for $5.352 million for Crow Creek rehab.
So this one, again, I'll go through the money side and Tom can do the project side. We're taking $5.3 million of unassigned fund balance in the sewer operating fund, transferring it to the sewer capital projects fund, and then appropriating it from there to the Crow Creek Rehabilitation and Relief Project, which there it can be used too.
Yeah, and this project is contract number 6 in the Crow Creek Basin of the wastewater collection system. And that basin has historically had a lot of leaks in the system when it rained. You get rain-derived inflow and infiltration into the system. And this project is a continuation of a program to reduce I&I and sanitary sewer overflows during wet weather periods. And this project, and the reason this is on the agenda, is we had additional fund balance left in the sewer fund, and this project was selected for borrowing this fiscal year. We no longer have to borrow the $5.3 million for this. We're using fund balance to fund construction, and we're going to advertise this project in the spring.
Okay, so do you know what council districts this flows through and will
I do.
basically impact? I'm guessing 4 and 9, but I'm not really positive.
That looks funny.
Look at who's lurking behind the door.
Okay, so this particular project, we're doing about 10,000 feet of sanitary sewer pipe rehab, and we're rehabilitating, we're replacing about a little over 100 manholes. And this is between Harvard and Lewis from 15th Street to 36th Street.
Okay, so a little bit in 9, but mostly in 4.
Yeah.
Right? Counselor Bellis? Yeah. Okay, all right. Lewis, what'd you say, Lewis to where?
Harvard,
Harvard to
between
Lewis.
Harvard to Lewis from East 15th Street to East 36th Street.
Yep, okay.
The construction will end there someday.
We-
Someday,
And this
right.
is contract number 6 that we've done
In
in the last
21,
decade.
34.
Yeah.
there'll be no more construction for lanes because we'll be flying around.
We'll just do jetpacks over there.
Yep. Okay. Item 13, budget amendment ordinance for $39,115 for domestic violence nurse examiner program.
Last one, this is appropriating $39,000 for the grant award to the police department from the District Attorney's Council Violence Against Women's Act Domestic Violence Nurse Examiner Program. And it will be used to support the Domestic Violence Nurse Examiner Program in providing medical and forensic examinations. And we'll just continue to fund an ongoing program that the police department partners with.
Okay, so same, I know these dollars come through every year, so this is the same, like, the program's being maintained still through Hillcrest? Or like on that site?
Apologize, I don't know
Oh, it's okay,
the
I'll
answer to
double-
that question.
It's okay, I'll double check.
What was your question?
If it's still through Hillcrest and not any other hospital sites, which,
I think so,
I'm
but I don't
assuming-
know for sure.
yes, okay. Yeah, I got it out for
Excellent.
Commissioner Roberts. I was just double checking,
Yeah.
because our other hospital systems can't offer all the same resources Hillcrest can due to faith association, so I was just double check.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. I think you're done.
Thank you very much.
Yep. Okay, 14, resolution authorizing payment of $800,000 from the sinking fund for case number 25 CD 00298.
Good morning, counselors. Chad
Good
Beck-
morning.
Chad Becker from Treasury. Here to provide assurance that there's sufficient cash balance in the sinking fund to pay this judgment ahead of the levy placement on the tax rolls. The judgment has been approved by the court and the mayor, and with council's approval, finance will issue payment to the claimant and file the necessary paperwork with the county to levy repayments to the sinking fund for this case. And Michelle McGrew is here from legal to discuss details.
Yeah, this is a civil rights case. On June 19th in 2023, the plaintiff, Leslie Hannon, contacted 911 because there was a domestic, she wanted her boyfriend removed from her apartment. 2 officers responded. They escorted him from the premises in the apartment complex, but he later came back and then raped and strangled the plaintiff, and she filed this lawsuit claiming her 14th Amendment rights were violated to due process and equal protection. And as Chad said, the mayor has approved, the court has approved the settlement.
I saw you first and then Counselor Ellis.
She probably has my question too, so.
I think there were some policy violations involved. Can you speak to those at all?
No, that's something I think you need to put on a separate agenda to speak with TPD about. That there were allegations, and that there was a failure to train and supervise the officers, but as far as policy violations, we're just here to discuss the basic.
Yeah. Well, I'll just say to the council, maybe we should schedule that, because on a day where we're authorizing all these violence against women dollars, this is obviously a domestic incident which happens across our community. And I'm just glad that the strangulation didn't lead to death, which it often does in our community. So obviously we have the dollars. This is not the first, second, or third time we're authorizing very large payments for civil rights violations. And I think we're seeing our community starting to ask us what accountability measures we're going to have in place, so that as we do these things, we're not just like, oh, it's another one, but we're actually taking like proactive policy steps to change the course of action. So obviously the settlement's before us, we know there's dollars, but this is a June 2023 incident. It's not from 30 years ago, and that I do think at some point we're gonna have to have some serious policy discussions and not just keep,
Paying out.
well,
Yeah.
the victim's still a victim.
Yeah.
As a survivor myself, $800,000 is not worth bodily autonomy and a near-death experience. So I think it's literally the least we can do, but I'm continuing to have some kind of moral injury where we just sit here and go, well, we got the dollars, that's what we're voting for, and that is what we're asked to do
Right.
as fiduciaries. But I think I would welcome a more deep policy discussion and look at best practices, go back to the Equality Indicator Justice reports, where we did lots of research and brought forth some pretty transformative recommendations that to date do not have funding, not 800,000,
Well, we
not
can't get it out of
8,000.
council.
Correct, so thank you for the suggestion that we add some agenda items.
Yep.
And I don't know if that's what
I have a
you also
specific
had to
one.
say.
Yeah, I think it is one of those, I did want to highlight what you highlighted, which is, you know, as we keep having these settlements, I know some of the narrative has been, hey, a lot of these are from 30 years ago, but it is important to acknowledge when things are happening today. And I'm wondering if one of the items, because I'm hearing kind of twofold, one is like, I would love to review more about those policies and best practices, and I think we could pair it, I'm flagging this as an agenda item, I'm looking at Sarah because of this. We have that domestic violence, is it a commission or a task force, or what, is it a?
It's a
what's the-
task force.
It's a task, I would love to get, and I know that there's a consultants that have been coming, or maybe one specific one that have been coming in. I interacted a bit with some of those members after an incident that I think could have ended really similarly, where someone, you know, wasn't removed from the site, you know, after a pretty bad incident, a former student had reached out, and it was very concerning to hear about how that played out, especially because it was over a holiday, you know, a holiday weekend, and there weren't some of the same resources available, and it made me curious about, right, not just police actions, but resource alignment. So that's why I'm wondering, stemming from this specific really horrible incident, if we could like also get on the agenda to hear from the like if there's policy recommendations or just updates from that domestic violence group that's actively working on aligning resources and making policy recommendations.
Agree?
Okay. So yes, I agree that I would like to know what has changed in our policies and protocols, like what have we learned from this? But that this maybe needs to be a separate agenda item for sure. Maybe can you talk about reaching the number? Like, was there a negotiation that happened, or what was the process by which she was engaged to where we landed on that number?
There were settlement negotiations, and we had the mayor's approval, and then we reached this, both sides agreed to this, the 800,000. And we're looking at what the risk at trial would have been, and so that's why every settlement is not an admission of liability, it's just an acknowledgement of the risk of trial.
Okay. How long did the negotiations happen? What was the time frame?
Essentially, we settled it in January 11th, I believe. We probably had 3 weeks negotiations back and forth between council and plaintiff's counsel and our office,
Okay.
and the mayor's office.
Thank you.
Kelsey?
Yeah, so for those that were here before myself, I know that in 2023, there was talk about a domestic violence commission proposed for,
That's what I was referring to.
yeah, the city of Tulsa. Did that ever transpire?
Sounds like there's a task force, not a commission.
I'd asked the mayor about it yesterday.
Yeah, and it's a task force now. It's not part of a commission with the various people from around the city that can.
I don't have the details of it, but I know, because I know Ohio State University is doing some work on domestic violence here in Tulsa County. So I would like to hear who's on the task force, kind of get an update on where they are, but
Definitely.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
I would just put that down.
and as an
Yeah,
agenda item,
just-
yeah,
yeah,
just
okay.
have it.
Oh,
Thank you. Thank you to my
I was just reiterating.
Thank you.
to my colleagues for broaching the subject as they did. Thank you.
Speaking of, for those of you who are newer to this process, you've had to authorize some pretty large expenditures from the sinking fund related to 1983 cases recently. I will say going on my 8th year, and Councilors Hall Harper and Lakin have been here longer than me, but this is a large amount of money. I mean, my first couple of years here, we're talking 350,000, 150,000. So, when we talk about risk, like I appreciate that that's essentially what we're doing, but I think my larger concern is these civil rights cases are such that we're doing very large settlements, which is telling me that there is a gap between policy and procedure and practice and culture. So, on the prevention's always the way to go, but then also, in this case, we're talking about police action. So I just didn't want to distract from, yes, domestic violence intervention and prevention is at a crisis point in our community. There's a large number of murder-suicides happening that I don't think are getting enough attention. The vast majority of them are happening in South Tulsa, which I also don't think is getting enough attention. But I also just want to say these settlements that are coming to us are related to 1983 civil rights violations by our police department. And I say that because we need to get serious about some of the policy, procedure, alignment to practice. Otherwise, we're just going to continue to have to do these things. So that's where I'd like us to also focus our energy is how do we prevent our city from violating people's civil rights?
And public accountability.
I can answer your domestic violence question.
Sure.
And then you can put it on the agenda for more in-depth.
Also, just for
Thank you so much.
for the public, this is a resolution, so it's on for action tonight at 5 o'clock
Emergency call.
with the emergency call.
I just want to provide a really quick overview on some of the questions regarding the Domestic Violence Commission / Task Force. So initially under Mayor Bynum, that was something that he proposed was a Domestic Violence Commission.
Right.
His intention was to write an executive order outlining it. We found that there's no executive order that actually exists. However, the domestic violence group was put together as funded by GKFF, and the Battered Women's Justice Program, BWJP, is the national sponsor, the national the piece that moves that and organizes it and does the research component. It is comprised of local law enforcement, district attorney's office, advocacy, so DIVIS is there, Family Children Services, as well as there is a defense, criminal defense piece that sits at the table along with the partners and research. Meets quarterly, still meets, and we are working through transitioning what that looks like through a task force rather than an official commission or a board or authority. It's scheduled, next meeting is the end of March. So that's just the very high level to answer some of the questions about the existence and where it stands today. So,
Yep. Thank you.
thank you.
Perfect. All right, we're going to move on. Thank you all very much. Next item is discussion with the Tulsa Regional Chamber and Visit Tulsa regarding the hotel guest tax, including the economic impact of tourism and opportunities created by potential future funding. Other than discussion, no action will be taken. As a follow-up to our June 28, 2026 conversation. Welcome. Renee.
Thank you for having me. Good morning, counselors. Always a pleasure to be meeting with you and really going over how tourism can impact us and really help us to grow here. So starting with just the tourism from investment. So right now we have a thriving tourism economy. It's benefiting all Tulsans, and why an increase in the hotel guest tax and reinvestment is critical for our future. Slide 2. So here are the tourism impacts by the numbers, and I was asked to bring those forward so you could really take a deep dive into that. 10 million visitors. The visitor volume has surpassed our pre-pandemic levels for the first time since 2023. And 1.4 billion is direct visitor spending. So this is an average of $3.9 million spent every single day by visitors here in Tulsa. 2.0 billion is your total economy from the total economic impact. So as you can see, it really benefits all Tulsans, really sustains local employment. It's actually something that's very important to us in generating those tax revenues. So next slide, please.
Oh, you've got it right there.
Oh, thank you. I didn't realize
You
I
got
was
the
driving,
power.
sorry. So, the tourism impacts, these are your tangible takeaways. So 1 in 16 jobs in Tulsa is sustained by tourism. 552 million total labor income, so this includes all of your direct labor income, and it really is over $2,200 per household. And 161 million of that is the state and local taxes. So visitor spending has reduced the burden by $939 per household in Tulsa. So those are really meaningful numbers. So you also asked me to really break down what every dollar invested in tourism is equal to. So that will bring in $162 of total economic impact. These numbers are from Tourism Economics, and so they are a combination of our hotel motel tax revenues and our TID assessment collections. So this is really your life cycle of the $1 tourism investment. So you have food and beverage, $37, your retail, $25, lodging, $24, transportation, $19, recreation, $13. So out of the dollar, that's what your direct business is. Your labor income is $31.62, and then you have your state, county, and city tax revenues listed there.
Can you go back to that slide?
Absolutely.
Okay, so we get $4.65. Oh no.
$3.77.
What
The
did
city.
we get? What does the city get? It's not on there, is it?
Well, it's not, it's at the very
It's
bottom,
on
it's
the
just cut off,
Well, just the city.
The
$3.77.
sales tax revenues,
Oh,
it's at
city
the very
sales
bottom.
tax. It's down here, but we can't say it. So 377?
Yeah, it's $3.77.
we got,
It's right,
Sorry,
it's
I
right.
can't see it on the TV. Over there. Okay, it's even more cut off. I'm trying to get my head out of the way so everybody else can see
Yeah.
this.
any other questions on
We're,
that?
we got it.
Yeah.
It's in our backup too, if you wanna zoom in.
Yeah, so tourism investment, this is your full life cycle. So the reinvestment of public dollars that are generated by tourism, it sustains your tourism assets. So we have world-class assets. So we're sustaining those, it creates future demand, it positions Tulsa for growth. And the hotel gas tax rate increase to at least 9.25% is truly necessary for us to not only maintain the momentum, build off past successes, but it also keeps us very competitive nationally. And right now, we are really top of mind for meeting and event planners and organizers, so this helps us not leave money on the table. So the expanded tourism marketing and promotion, you would also ask what we would do with these increased dollars. So this would enable us to increase prospecting and marketing reach. And as you know, we are pretty lean on our team, so being able to do that and really get out and market, host opportunities, successful conversion of leads into bookings. So a lot of that is dependent on being able to bring those groups in so they can visit, so they can see us and see if their groups and events are a match. Our events are hosted, generating overnight stays and visitor spending, which we went through in the earlier slide. And then visitor spending generates incremental revenue for sales tax funded programs. So on average, our TRT booking is estimated to generate $31,839 in city sales tax. And by expanding and prospecting event recruitment, we can expect to see additional revenues from converting leads. And the adequate funding is necessary to ensure that we can fill the lead pipeline and that we can secure meetings in the future. And again, these are all done through economic impact of booked events hosted. So you see there on the bottom through 2027. So the bottom line, hotel gas tax increase, it benefits all Tulsans. So increasing the hotel tax rate really expends our current tourism investment without increasing the tax burden on residents. That is very, very important. I'm saying that over and over again. This is other people's money, and it will not increase the tax burden on our residents. It's additional tourism investment. It generates future demand, increased visitor volume, and increased spending, as you saw in the earlier slides. And our increased visitor spending results in additional tax revenue that supports our infrastructure and all our public services. So more visitors equals more money, and more money is in the local economy. It's improved quality of life for all Tulsans. And that's it.
So to follow up on that last slide, is there
Absolutely.
a disadvantage you can think of? Can you argue the other side? What's the downside for a resident in creating more opportunities for visitors to come to our city.
I mean, there's no downside. I mean, this is why other cities do this. This is why we we haven't done it since 1984, and we're leaving money on the table. So the upside is the visitors leave more money here. It gives us a bigger pie to work from, and it's absolutely something that will help us remain competitive as a destination.
Yeah, I think too, on the qualitative side of things, I often hear restaurateurs or hoteliers say that they need to get their occupancy rates up or their
Yes.
visitorship, their customer base more secure and more stabilized, so more visitors do help us have nicer places for our guests to stay or our
Right.
business associates to stay when they come in town. More restaurant opportunities for visitors means more restaurant opportunities for us as well.
Absolutely.
Right?
So it's everything, it's all of our world-class attractions, it's our restaurants, it's our retail, it's
Yep,
Mother
retail,
Road,
yep.
everything on Route 66. I mean, we have invested so much for the visitor, and we need to make sure that we're leaving those dollars here in the economy.
Yeah. Okay, so I have Dutton, then Archie, then Dr. Wright? Okay.
Okay.
So, to that question, which I really appreciate, Councilor Lincoln, the downside, so I know in my district, and East Tulsa as well, District 5, that there are numerous hotels and motels where individuals actually pay per week to live. We have a lot of unsheltered individuals that utilize those hotels, unsheltered youth that are also placed in these hotels. And so I'm wondering how those smaller hotels and motels, say within my district, District 5, East Tulsa in general, are going to, how that's going to affect housing for individuals that rely on motels and hotels for housing and vouchers from, shelters, the day center, whatnot. So
Right.
those are things that I don't know have been baked into this equation.
Well, there's certainly things that we can be talking about, because if it's over 30 days, that does make a difference as well. And then looking at it from any carve-outs that can be established based on those situations. We can definitely, those are still to be determined, but other cities have done different carve-outs for
Just
that.
as a little add-on to that, because that's policy I've worked a lot on related to, like, we can update, like, there's the part of putting up to the voters, okay, we're increasing the lodging tax to this, but
Right.
then the part of what we're agreeing to with hotels, et cetera, for the specific line items of what gets taxed and what has carve-outs or things like that is minutia we've, gotten into before and after and have revised at this table a few times. So, like,
Okay.
for instance, nonprofits can access certain
Right.
like
Yeah.
deals, but we can
Tax
also,
deductible.
but there also is the opportunity that we could alongside raising this, or also, fairly shortly after, update what that looks like.
Oh, that's good to know,
Yeah.
simply because I know that a lot of the motels in the East Corridor actually are utilized for those situations, and I just wondered how that was gonna affect our community members in general.
Absolutely.
Just on this topic, do we know what percentage of room nights is sold to people from the city compared to people from without the city?
I don't have that exact number, but it's pretty minimal.
Yeah.
We can get that for you.
Okay.
And that's throughout the city and all the motels and hotels that are listed.
Exactly, yes.
So even like the Oasis Hotel and Admiral and,
It probably won't be perfect. It's probably like a
Yeah.
sample.
okay,
Yeah. But we can certainly get that,
okay, thank you.
yes.
Renee, can you go back to this slide?
Sure.
Can you put it up on the screen?
Sure.
My question, it's like a compare and contrast question. If this slide communicates basically what you would do with the increased funding.
Right.
What I'm hearing is you will use that funding to do more of the same, because the same is working. Or is there something that we're not doing that maybe other large markets do that you might want to add to the repertoire of things that might add value to?
Absolutely.
So, yeah.
So in looking at that, when I say, for example, our increased prospecting and marketing reach, we would want to be out in market in other cities, especially cities that are going to be bringing business to us, and hosting events and talking about Tulsa, being at trade shows, being at events. We don't have the budget to do a lot of those things. And then hosting opportunities, most cities will have different fan trips and events where they bring bookers, event planners into town and showcase the city. So the best way to sell is for them to see it and experience it. We're not able to do that right now. And it's really in our competitive set, being able to stay competitive, because they are at all of these opportunities. They're generating different trade show opportunities, and they're out in market. So it's very important to us that we're out there, because people book with who they know, and if we're not building those relationships and bringing them in, then we're also, our job is to fill the Arvest Convention Center.
Right.
And they'd be okay.
Can I offer a little bit different answer? So we've all been approached by the hoteliers or the association or whatever about looking at the percentage allocation. So right now, let's just say half of it's going to Visit Tulsa and half of it's going to public facilities. It's not perfect math or anything like that, but it's close enough. So I've been asking the question, other people have been asking the question, are those percentages right? We're considering having a study done just so that we can verify whether or not those percentages are right now and into the future. So there's probably some kind of plan out there that could optimize it.
Yeah.
We don't know what that plan is, but we hope to have some more information that Renee and others can share with us within the next 4 to 6 weeks.
Right.
Let's say, so that it's not just more money allocated the same way, it's more money allocated maybe to increase the efficiencies and increase the opportunities that we have to do additional works that have been distributed and displayed in this presentation.
Okay, so study's been done, good, great.
Yeah, we're,
Looking forward.
hope, not being done yet, but we're getting,
As a next step.
we're pursuing
Okay.
that. Yeah.
Oh, good.
Did I miss anything there? I mean.
No, it's
okay.
perfect. Yeah, we wanna identify what different opportunities are there and what best practices are there.
Okay.
Yeah. Kelsey.
Thank you. Thank you for coming before us. I think this is your third or fourth time.
Yes,
And
I
I
love
appreciate
this.
every time we learn
Yeah.
something new, which then for me always leads to more questions, unfortunately for you. Could you send to Sarah just like a table of our peer cities that you feel that we're competing with in the market for, you know, the bigger quality events and things, and what their lodging tax is, just so we can kind of have a peek. I know that some of the cities we're competing with have professional sports organizations that we're not exactly, you know, at that level
Right.
with yet. Of course, we can position
I love
ourselves
that
to
you
be
said
more
yet.
attractive
Yes.
like
to
that.
to
Come on,
attract.
the Bears.
Yeah, I think I cheered last time.
Yeah, that's about.
I grew up in a
Bears.
city that had an NFL team that now is an hour away, so, you know, it's never set in stone. That I think would be helpful framing for us.
Sure.
That would also maybe give more insight to, I understand right now, I think the lead city right now is Oklahoma City in our state at 9.25. But that doesn't, they've set a benchmark that we're looking at, but I would like to, as we're looking at mid and long-term planning, if this is a once in every 40-year question that we ask our neighbors, you know, to really look at short-term, mid-term, and long-term desires, and see if 9.25 is where we need to be, or if competitively speaking, there's a little more wiggle room there, and what that might afford or not afford for us, especially as it talks about more opportunities for attraction.
Absolutely.
Right, so that we're not being incremental in our ask. That would be so helpful. And Counselor Dutton, to your question, I've been asking that as well, because the reality is that in this community, we have people living in hotels and motels. Now, some people live in our 5-star hotels, and people don't seem to have an issue with that. It seems more the ones in your part of town that all of a sudden we're not so sure about. But I think we've been talking a little bit about our nonprofit providers who largely pick up the,
There's snacks in the kitchen.
it's almost lunchtime, that pick up the tab on those things, and how we might be able to do some rebates or options. And so if you have that information, that'd be helpful. the study reveals that information, that would be
Yeah,
helpful.
we can add that to the study as well.
For sure. And I always just do want to say that this also includes our short-term rentals. I think, you know, we can have policy debates about short-term rentals and impacts on housing in the city, but in terms of lodging choices, these taxes also apply to that. And those do tend to be the people that are staying longer than, I mean, some people will stay 3-4 days in a short-term rental, or even 2 nights or whatever, but some of those folks are working temporarily in our city and stuff, and they will also be sharing in those costs in a way that is impactful to our economy, especially when everything's booked.
Right.
So, are there any other things we need to know about tourism? I think sometimes people think tourism is a nice to have, especially like, obviously when I'm not here,
Right.
I'm kind of working in a space that is directly impacting tourism as well, and education. But it's one of our largest industries in the state.
It is, it's the third largest.
Right, and we're the second largest city next to the third largest city. So I think we really need to understand that tourism, although it's a feel good and, you know, we get to do fun stuff and there's photo ops and a big yellow ducky out at the river and things like that. I mean, it is a pillar of our economy and has to be fully maximized. It's also jobs. We talked about restaurateurs and things, but as somebody for a long time whose family really relied on restaurant income, it is not a minimal thing for a lot of people, especially in my district. We have a lot of hospitality and restaurant workers, and these are jobs that let people, you know, provide for their families. So it's to me a win-win for the folks who live here to share in the burden of paying for everything that we need with our visitors. And I think another upswing is when people visit our city, I think more often than not they're surprised. I think I just
They
saw,
are.
right, they think this is flyover, they come for the first time and they go, how come I didn't know how beautiful this was, or all the amazing things that are here. So I've heard many, many times people say, I came for a visit and then I decided to come back and stay. So in terms of growing our community, I think, you know, for every visitor that comes, there's an experience where they go home and say, maybe we're moving to Tulsa. And I think that's also something that we need to be looking at for future growth for our city proper.
Well, and even this week, Travel and Leisure named us, you know, top place to see, Wall Street Journal, top place to be in 2026. So the time is now, is that we have these visitors coming now and they're curious now. And so we want to maximize that so that we can bring that right back into our economy.
On the first request that you had on the comparables from city to city, would it be okay, so within the state of Oklahoma, kind of looking at those comparables on a percent is a pretty good comparison. So like Oklahoma City, Midwest City's 925, Broken Bow has increased theirs as well. But on a state, when you look at other states, that's a little trickier, and they have an equation where they look at investment because there's some state level things in other states that we don't have.
Yeah.
So you may look at one of these comparables and say, why are we off? But for example, I asked somebody the other day, Arkansas is loading up my phone right now 3 weeks before spring break.
All right.
That's because they have a state, a huge state investment in that.
$30 million to our $5 million.
And
Okay, can we like factor out the state?
Right, so they have a way to do that, but I
Ratio.
just, when you get the data, I wanted everybody to understand that's why they're not giving the percent to percent when they do
Sure.
the out-of-state ones. So in-state, that
Yeah,
percent to
no.
percent is fine.
That would be
The-
helpful information though, to know Oklahoma's 5 million.
5 million
For
to
all
our
77
neighbors in
counties.
Arkansas is 30 million.
Right, so maybe we see that and then the ratio in the city.
Yeah,
And I think Arkansas is a good place to look. I think North Texas would be a good place to look. Like
And they-
places that people are choosing
Yeah.
for spring break or,
they have
You know,
some
a road trip.
comparables too, and I know they can give more, but that's why you're gonna see that difference on
got
the
it.
out-of-state ones.
That's very important to know.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, and if you're looking at it from the state perspective, the state's return on investment has to be double ours, given that they're getting 4% just about every dollar spent versus our 2.65 whenever you take the 1%
I mean, is
away
Oklahoma
for
City
our
Metro and
capital
Tulsa
projects.
Metro, like the two main touristy areas, or like a Broken Bow?
Broken Bow
It's
actually
growing.
is growing.
Yeah.
They implemented a tax and they called it the Texas tax. and it ends up, it's about 4.5 million in Broken Bow.
But what are the, like, is there like a main tourist center or centers of the state?
I mean, Oklahoma City and Tulsa.
Okay, so,
Mhm.
yeah. I mean, that makes sense, but
Yeah.
I didn't know if
And
there
now
was
with
some.
Route 66, there's a big opportunity
It's not
for.
Boise City.
for a whole
I didn't know if there's some
We have
resort
dinosaurs
town I
there
didn't
now.
know about.
It was the only city to have a bomb dropped on it in World War II.
Which one?
Boise City,
Okay.
it's only accidental discharge. So one of those
We need a
things.
ski resort or something.
Yeah, gonna be, yeah, Turkey Mountain.
There you go.
John Erling used to have us ski Turkey Mountain, right?
Cross-country ski, maybe?
Yeah, exactly. Okay, anything else on this topic?
Thank you, Renee.
Anyone else? Okay, so we have more work to do, obviously, especially if this study does go through.
Do you know the timing on that?
Not yet. No, but it has to be done soon.
Like between now and June?
Between now and
May?
like the end of March.
Okay.
Beginning of April.
All right.
Yeah, we got to turn around fast.
4 weeks.
Yep.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Councilors.
Okay, thank you. No, because we have different audiences, you know, and we obviously have needs in our public facilities, the hoteliers and the association saw what those needs were. We have costs associated with that. Those are huge economic drivers for our city. I can't remember all the numbers, but it seems like 200 million in sales every year. And then you derive the economic impact of that, which is multiples of that. So I don't think anybody argues with the need to invest in our public facilities, but there's also the other side of the argument that we need people out selling our city. So how do we pay for that, and when do we start paying for that? And is there an opportunity to do both without having a static formula, if you will? Okay, item 16, HUD grant funding recommendations from the HUD Community Development Committee for 26 and 27. Come on up. You're already up.
Still morning. Morning, councillors.
Morning.
I printed those off, so I think the handout's a little hard to see.
Is there a complimentary magnifying glass that comes with
I
this?
think it's easier to read than them.
Test your eyesight.
It's a budget savings thing.
Oh, sorry. I should have started with you. Thank you.
I don't even know if it's upside down or right side up.
Is it time for enrollment?
Thanks for
You need 11 by 17 papers.
They can get it from Public Works. They got the big paper.
Yeah.
We have a plotter up here next time. You just
Kind
come
of
out
just
with
like
that.
unrolls.
Yep.
Spiral.
All right, show is yours.
So just some background to go through the process. Obviously, gone through our ordinance. We started this process back last year. Solicited for RFPs. That was done through social media, through our mailing list, through posting on the city's website. We had the 3 RFP workshops back in September. We had a total of 53 agencies attend. Out of those 53, 30 ended up submitting applications. The applications are due on October 21st. We received 41 applications, totaling just over $9 million. We had 2 applications that were rejected. They submitted an application for an activity that was not eligible within that category. Bonus points were awarded for, 2 bonus points were awarded for complete applications, so those who got everything to us first time round and didn't require the extra days. And then 5 bonus points were awarded to home and CDBG applications that met homelessness and housing goals set by the Mayor's administration. During the process, the RFP as well, the Mayor's administration asked us to increase the amount that people could apply for a public service. Previously, that's been capped at 50,000. That was increased to 100,000. Obviously, all the home projects received the bonus points, and out of the CDBG applications, 10 out of the 21 received the 5 bonus points. The majority of those were within the public service category. Reviewing, we had 56 people sign up to review. 53 were chosen to review, with 47 of those ended up completing the reviews. Those review sessions were held in November, and then the scores were all summarised, and comments received, and that was all put together by December 8th. and provided to a facilitator who reviewed the process and said everything looked good. We held our meetings then at the end of January, early February. That resulted in 29 projects, not including administration projects, being recommended for just under 5.8 million. So there were 9 public service projects, totaling 526,000, 7 economic, physical and housing services projects, including 4 internal projects at 2.6 million, 4 home projects, including 1 internal for 1.4, and then 1 Hopper project and 8 ESG projects. Questions?
I love this system so much better than I loved the one or hated the one that we had in place about 20 years ago, which consumed so much political capital and so many people's time because individuals would review all of this information and it didn't matter really what their recommendations were whenever it was brought to the council because the council changed every single bit of it. I like being able to rely on the work that you all do because we know that you do it extremely well and in a very rigorous, objective way. So thank you for your assistance and oversight of this. Counselor.
Thank you. On ESG, the second band, it looks like the entity did not request funding but was awarded funding. How does something like that happen?
Which,
This one?
so we are required, through ESG, we're required to use the homeless management information system. So we always carve a little bit out. It's like 3% of the funding.
Oh, just to support the.
To support that system.
The data system.
Yes.
I
So
got
it's
it.
the Centre for Housing Solutions, the
Right.
lead agency on HMIS, so we just
So
carve
you
that
just
out.
do an apportionment
Yeah.
as a standard operations.
I mean, I
Okay.
think the total costs run into tens, if not hundreds of thousands. So
Absolutely.
it's a small portion.
It just, that's the only line that had a 0 on request, so I wasn't sure how we did that. That makes sense.
I'm curious, knowing that we have, kind of as we're moving through Path to Home, and there's also the Safe Move effort, et cetera, could you share how some of that weighed into, like, I know there's like, just, wasn't this still just like pay raw rubric scoring, or when we look at some of the, homelessness prevention or rapid rehousing initiatives, was some of that like a consideration this cycle?
Yeah, so
Okay.
there were 5 bonus points awarded to applications that directly, their project was directly related to housing or homelessness.
Okay.
So,
I was just trying to think of how those dollars align with where other dollars are sitting and how we're maximizing them aligned to those goals.
Yeah,
Who's
I think
responsible for
our,
that, like, look of alignment, though?
Because it's one thing to just go, hey, it
Yeah,
matches
this
this
is sitting
priority.
in grants, but
Right.
who is project is it Emily, or who is the project manager that's looking for all possible dollars and then
Because I'm just trying to make sure we're
aligning
not
across?
diluting, I know there's
Yes.
like all the complexities of the braided funding that has to happen, and we want to ensure we're not diluting
Like, is there a
dollars that could be high impact.
fiscal manager that is monitoring those things?
Good question.
I know more about what's on the front end, less about what's on the back end. I know more about the priorities that are set and the weights that are provided
Jean.
and why.
Aha.
So if at some point we don't have a homelessness and housing crisis,
I'm
then we would be able to minimize that weight,
But yeah,
allow it to be diverse, yes.
Jean, who has just seen The Matrix for the first time recently, is here to share with us.
No.
I told him
You can learn that from Jean.
It's been an ongoing issue.
As you work through your homelessness process that we're currently working on to do this, I do think one component of that is identifying what are the available streams of revenue or resources, and then making sure that they are aligned. So that's a process that I would map out that you would need to go through.
You're gonna map it out, or it needs to be mapped out?
No, it needs to be mapped out.
Yeah.
I'm sure I'm part of that.
Like,
but
who's doing the MapQuest work?
I think that's part of the process, which is why the first step was to establish what the process is and then get the key people in those
Okay.
different roles. And then I know I won't, well, I will just speak for Gene. And he is looking at how do we efficiently align these things, so again, this is a step in a process, and so that increasing that minimum was the first
Doubling
step
it,
in that goal. That minimum hadn't been increased in how long? As long as I've been here, it's been that minimum. So, now you can have your think.
Hi, Gene Bolmash, Senior Advisor to Mayor Nichols on housing. I think everything Sarah said is correct. One of the things that we're looking at as we've I've been working with Sarah and Travis and James and others in the city about like how we best use our IoT $3 is kind of similar analysis of what other funds out there are out there and how are we using them. And so the mayor's office worked very closely with grants administration team on, as Reese said, adding those bonus points for projects or programs that are directly related to housing and homelessness, as well as raising that minimum. The hope was that we can provide fewer, more meaningful grants. Because these dollars are federally funded, they bring all sorts of compliance issues. So a $20,000 grant with all of those compliance requirements really is costing the nonprofit more money than they might be getting. So we're working with grants administration to kind of improve the process and try to streamline some of these dollars towards those needs. And we'll continue to tweak that process, continue to work with grants administration team. We're looking into a bunch of other ways to do that more efficiently.
So, I don't know, this might be a you question. Some of these are fully funded, not very many. Some look like they're around the 50% of ask, and some are more or less. How is that determined? Because when you're looking at scores, there's some people that scored at 20.4 that got like a 50% allocation off of their ask, or more than 50%, and then others that scored 23 that got 0. So I'm just...
These would ultimately be the recommendations from the HUD CDC committee, but we guided them and gave them multiple options.
Do you know if it was like we'd rather give every entity that, obviously did the application process and got their points, something? Or was it one of these, let's make meaningful investments in things that are really gonna move ahead on the strategy?
I think the ESG is the one you referred to the most.
Just kind of looking at them all. If you look at CDBG too,
like under the
a lot of those fall
CDBG,
off.
I mean, we have a limited amount of money in CDBG.
Sure.
We allow 15%. So if we give more money, we're going to fund less agencies. So that is why a lot of them fell off.
Okay.
In previous years, we funded. I think this current year we have 16 awards, but they're all around the 30,000 mark.
So the goal this year was to give a little bit more and make more impact?
Yes.
On the CDBG specifically?
And the admin burden is pretty high just on tracking those CDBG dollars. So.
Well, it's something we talked about in the task force, right? Is one, not leaving dollars on the table, but then two, fully maximizing them. So it sounds like we're moving in that direction, but not fully as efficient as we could possibly be to leverage up every dollar.
Yeah,
that would be the goal.
We set originally like a $20,000 minimum, but that was 15 years ago.
Yeah.
And that was smart back then because the administrative burden was, let's say, a quarter of that. I'm sure just with inflation and everything else, we've gotten ourselves to a place where 40 or 50 should be the minimum. And then you just run out of money pretty fast.
On the applications, is there any place where they can express, like, we've got a private dollar match, if we pull down these dollars from the city, we're unlocking 2 to 1 or 1 to 1?
That's my memory, yes.
Okay,
Yep.
that's good. Thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
What was, you said 15% is set aside for CDBG?
CDBG public service.
So can you give us the percentages of all of them?
So on the public service, that's 15% of our, it is 15% of our annual award. So we may have more available because every year we have carryover funds, like projects that don't spend, so
You don't have to send it back?
No, we get to reuse them. So it'll be 15%
Right,
of.
15%, I want the percentages of all of them.
It'll be like 15% of roughly 3.3 million is what we received.
I meant of all the categories.
So,
For the total.
Hopper, there is no we're only allowed to take 3% for admin, that's it.
3?
For admin, the rest
No, I'm
goes
not
to
talking about
projects.
admin, I'm talking about the total area.
So-
Aqua,
so yeah.
ESG, what is the percentage?
Okay, so HOPA, all of it, 97% goes to programs.
I think she's asking of our overall 6.8 mil,
Oh.
6.6 percentage in
Overall.
each category.
Yes.
Do you know?
Percentage of each area.
If not, we could just do the math. You
Yeah.
just take this number.
Well, I thought you just would have it,
Yeah.
since we do the same thing every year, right?
Well,
The
that's-
percentage breakdown?
I don't
Well,
think
but
so,
it's
I think
not-
is our
it's not all
HUD
from one
funding
bucket of
dollars
dollars,
Yeah, it's not all one, but
in the
they're all
different
separate.
programs.
So it's not allocating part of it by these areas.
Right, I think
There's
The
CDBG
federal
different
government
buckets of
tells us
dollars.
what we can do.
I think
Yeah.
CDBG is the only one that has that set aside of 15%,
Yeah,
only
like-
up to no more than 15% can be used for certain projects.
Mm-hmm.
I
So
think that's unique.
ESG, we get roughly 300,000 a year, only 60% can be spent on shelter.
See right here. It's hard to see. Can you send this to us as a PDF so we can
Yeah.
zoom in? Because that's like an 8-point font.
Oh, yeah, those have-
Yeah, they're here.
Oh, you just subsection.
They're just hard to see.
Yeah, this feels like a fit to print.
Yes. But like, we just
Check
got
that
it,
box.
so it's not like we looked at it before it came.
7.76 font.
We send you the breakdown of the
Yeah.
different funding buckets. as
Even
well.
just this, if we can zoom in, then we can read those numbers.
Right. It's funny, you use your left eye too. That's what I was squinting really hard.
Yeah.
Counselor Bellis?
I was just curious, and I think some of those things have kind of gotten walked back, but with some of the changes about guidelines for how the dollars can be used by HUD that had occurred, where it was for certain type, like moving away from housing more towards certain programmatic things, did that get walked back? Like, I was just curious if that was affecting these dollars.
Not these dollars.
Okay,
Those are the COC dollars.
okay, I wasn't
that
sure if
don't
that was
go to
broader.
us.
Like emergency shelter versus.
Yeah, or, some of the like shift, like the housing first versus, mental health versus, just, okay. Thank you, I just wasn't sure if those affected these or not.
Okey-dokey. Anything else? Anyone else? All right. Counselor Paul Harper, your microphone is off. People can't hear you. Okay, thank you very much. 17, ordinance amending Title 37 relating to impoundment of vehicles and racing. That sounds like a Counselor Bellis one.
Yeah, that's me, I've always been really passionate about vehicle impoundment. No, so I asked,
A major and a chief.
yes, I had asked them to join me, especially, Major Record has been really critical in working on this with me. Just some quick background, and some of this data-wise, we've all known for quite some time. People are driving recklessly in our city. That has accelerated in recent years.
Oh, that's a good word.
Yes. That was your dad pun of the day.
There we go.
No more, no, I'm kidding. But we've seen the data supporting that, and if you see in one of the whereases for this, almost half of fatal, the fatal collisions have been from reckless driving, right? That's not people just, you start kind of going 10 or 15 or even 20 over the speed limit. These are people who are, on our highways going well over, 100, 120 miles per hour. They're going fast on purpose and endangering others' lives in the process. And then in our residential neighborhoods, right, going twice the posted speed. It's dangerous. And basically when, so I think this is like 8 or 9 months ago when I was talking with Major McCord about just some of these accidents we're seeing, especially about motorcycle racing, which I'm sure I'm not alone in getting concerned constituents who see that, and then we've seen some really tragic accidents happen even within the past 2 weeks. I had asked, what else can we do? And he let me know that there was a tool that could be in our toolkit that we hadn't employed related to impoundment and making sure that we're empowered to go, hey, you're driving a vehicle dangerously. Let's make sure we get some pause time before you have your vehicle back. Because right now, someone could be cited, they could be arrested, and then the second that they are out of jail, they could be right back in their car. And there's some really strong data that shows that what's actually needed is a deterrence to really cause a behavior change for people that are consistently driving dangerously, is causing as much friction as possible by removing their vehicle, and that's like a very necessary action that a lot of data supports. But I'm gonna pause and let the police officers here get a little bit more into the granular pieces. And then I do have one big kind of feedback ask of my colleagues, because there's one piece of this that I'm really open to amendments on or would love people's perspectives on, but I'll pause.
Thank you, Counselor. Matt McCord, Tulsa Police, Riverside Division Commander, also serve as the Traffic Safety Committee Chair. So since COVID, reckless driving has just exponentially grown across the country. And we can all point to different logical reasons why that may be. Like, there were no cars on the road, so you could drive as fast as you wanted. Unfortunately, when the rest of us joined traffic, they kept driving recklessly. Across the country, there's also an issue of sideshows, which I'm sure you're all familiar with, where people take over intersections, they do burnouts and street racing and things like that. That's not a huge problem in Tulsa yet, but this may be a really strong tool to get ahead of it. But most importantly, the largest contributors to traffic fatalities and serious injury collisions is speed and reckless driving, by far. And so we've learned that these drivers, some of them are just determined to drive as fast as they want. We can suspend their license. We can cite them infinitely, and they'll just pay the citations and keep on driving recklessly. What we've seen across the country is ordinances in which we impound their cars for X number of days. This slows them down because they literally don't have the toy to play with anymore. It would be for a temporary amount of time, which, you know, we're still discussing maybe the best number of days. But this works across the country. It's reduced recidivism, it's reduced fatality collisions, and serious injury collisions. And the way that we shape this up with Counselor Bellis is these are very bright line offenses, 40 miles an hour or greater over the speed limit on the highway. I mean, so we're talking 95 to 105, 110 miles per hour, double the speed limit on city streets. As our traffic experts would tell you, nobody accidentally goes double the speed limit. Maybe you can find yourself going 10 over on the BA, but not 40 over. We also added in any collisions that were caused by excessive speed, street racing. Our legal advisor, Becky Johnson, wrote a great definition of it. Street racing doesn't always include the traditional line up on that line in drag race. It also includes flying down the BA at 110 on your motorcycle to show off to your friends. And so what we learned in Tulsa is we've all seen the rash of motorcycle. In almost every motorcycle collision at high speed is fatality for the rider. On New Year's Eve, famously, it was the other car, a Lexus SUV, in which occupants were killed. If there's no cars on the road, motorcycles can drive fast and probably not hurt anybody. There's never a time where there's not cars on the road in Tulsa. And so almost every fatality collision with motorcycles, they went into another car. So this is not picking on motorcycles. This is for reckless drivers of any type. So many riders who engage in lawless driving and reckless driving, they don't care that we're trying to pull them over. They'll run from us. And so this ordinance would give us some teeth that we have the tag, you run away from us, our policy does not permit us to chase you, and they know that. In fact, one rider actually has our pursuit policy printed on a t-shirt that he wears when he's out riding recklessly, just to taunt us. And so we can pick up that vehicle later, you know, when he's not driving 120 miles an hour down the highway. So that's kind of an overview.
Yeah. And then to get into the weeds of what I wanted to check with you all about and what you think is best, real quick. So what's drafted right now has 3 days of impoundment, and that's for first, second offense, et cetera. Initially, we had looked at a range where I think it was it 5 days for a first offense, 10 days for a second offense. With some feedback, and I'm so about what implementation would look like, which I'm so grateful from everyone for. Being able to, in the moment, for an officer to go, is this a first or a second offense, is really hard to determine. So one amendment we had made was, okay, it makes the most sense to have it be one number for all of these. A concern that got raised was if we are looking at 5 or 10 days and then a judge reduces a sentence, one concern that had been raised for why I drafted it at 3 days for impoundment was that then the city may end up in a position where we'd have to absorb the cost of the impoundment. And so 3 days felt like, hey, that could be enough friction and we won't absorb the cost. upon further review, Major McCord found yesterday that the way our impoundment kind of contract works is there's a vendor, they actually pay the city upfront to have that impoundment contract. And that's an upfront cost. And then that they impound the vehicle, there's the rate per day, that's when, that they pay to hold it, and that can vary based on the size or nature of the vehicle. But that if a sentence were reduced, they actually absorb that cost as part of how their contracted work with us happens, which then made me want to
The
revisit.
vendor absorbs the cost or the person whose vehicle it is?
And that turns both,
Okay.
right? Like for them to get it back, I think, well, maybe not, maybe it'd just be the vendor. If their sentence is reduced, then it would be the vendor.
The
not
vendor's absorbing the
Sorry, yeah,
cost.
sorry.
And
Yes.
if that's a contract that's negotiated with us, or?
Yeah, that's that's what we had looked into. And so that made me then want to err on the side of maybe going back to 5 days, right? This isn't, because this is about people who are choosing to behave dangerously around others. And I want to do something that.
Can we clarify, is it 5 just calendar days or business days? So like, I'm thinking, if it gets picked up on a Friday, does the weekend count as part of those 3 or 5 days?
That's a good question.
I'm open to either,
Yeah.
possibility.
Yeah,
We
that's
didn't define
why I
that.
wanted to.
I just don't know, is the vendor
Um,
open on a Sunday?
yes.
Yes, and then just to
Or
give you some
24/7 to
examples,
get your car?
just to give you all some examples from what other cities do as well. One of the ones that had the most actual kind of data literature review, which thanks to Captain Arnold for going through some of that, was California, which this is more specifically to suspended or revoked license, but they do a 30-day impoundment. You see a real range of.
We also have more public transportation
Yes,
opportunities.
yeah, well, that's statewide, so that could really
Yeah.
vary depending on the area. I know that we saw different days in other cities. Sorry if you know off the top of your head, what was Oklahoma City's, do you remember?
I don't.
We could pull it up. OKC does have an impoundment policy as well.
10. We think it's 10.
It's 10, okay. And they might be the ones that have the first
So
and
the reason
second
we went
offense.
from 10 to 3 was what?
Was the concern about if the city had to incur the cost of a sentence
But
getting
now you're
reduced.
confirming that we would not
We
incur the
just learned,
cost.
yeah, I just confirmed yesterday we would not, and which made me wanna then check with you all about if 5
the
days.
Go
vendor-
back to 5 or 10.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It
which-
sounds like Oklahoma City's at 10.
At 10, so that's why I wanted to check with you all, part of
I
it is.
don't think 3 is enough.
I don't
don't
think so
either.
either, but I wanted to check though, is 5 enough, is 10, I know some of this is just getting into behavioral economics. Part of my thought is.
What is the cost to get a vehicle back? If it's in for, is it a per day charge?
It would be the per day charge, the regular rate for the vendor, the record vendor.
Yeah, like an
I called
estimated.
yesterday, and just they asked me what kind of vehicle, and gross vehicle weight determines, they said $26 a day. So this is not a penalty, like monetarily so much.
Timeout.
It's a timeout. It's a please stop driving this car so fast.
And again, it's paid by the person who committed the crime? Okay.
Sure, if they're convicted. Well, so they pay it up front, and later if they go to traffic court and
The vendor pays it up
they're
front.
convicted, then everything's square. And if the judge dismisses it or reduces it, then the vendor owes them their money back. But the city doesn't owe anything.
The
Wait a
person,
minute.
yeah, that's
Sarah's saying
violating,
no.
We'll pay it up
I think-
will
front.
pay it up front to get
Hold
their
on,
vehicle
let's
back.
understand how this works.
Right, that's what I'm talking
I think we're kind of talking about two different processes. So
Okay, so
there's, just like in code enforcement cases, there's a criminal process and then there's a nuisance process. So the criminal process, the judge goes through on the charge. The impoundment process goes through an administrative hearing officer. If they elect to have a hearing regarding the impoundment.
Like an
So-
appeal.
Right, so just like tall grass it's a little bit different, but tall grass has you can be charged in the criminal court, but you also can have a hearing regarding whether the abatement was proper or not. Same thing here. Your charge you're gonna face at criminal court, which depending on what the charge is, could have various offenses. And then if it meets the level of impoundment, then you could elect a due process hearing on the administration side.
So Brant Pitchford would come
No, there's administrative.
parallel.
There's just the example I could think of that was
Right,
closest
so
to.
is the hearing officer the court administrator?
Typically, there's a
Okay.
couple different administrative hearing officers.
But there would be
Um,
that appeal process
yeah.
baked into this?
Yes, and that, you'll see that in the ordinance,
Okay.
that you can elect to have, an appeal.
But it sounds like it's $26 a day, so it seems to me, I'm just
Yeah.
gonna say,
Should
if
be
Oklahoma
minimal.
City has 10, and we're the two largest communities in the state, and we're trying to change behaviors, then I'm good with matching at 10. It's $260 and not having your vehicle for 10 days. Hopefully,
Yeah.
you learn that lesson once and then clean it up.
Yeah.
Or if you repeatedly do it, is there a stack on that?
So that was where, going back to the implementation side, that if we were trying to do for this specific purpose, first versus second offense, it's really hard administratively in
track
the
it.
moment to know which one you're on when you're seeking to go issue the impoundment. And so that was where the initial draft was a first versus second one, but that's where we erred on going, maybe we pick a
Is that
flat.
something where in the court process there could be a?
It's really difficult, so just my experience in this, it's really difficult for an officer in the field, through no fault of the officer, to see is something genuinely a first or second offense. And so, because a first offense charge may have been amended at a later time, and so that's the situation where you do kind of see that risk of, are we for sure getting a second offense, or are we for sure getting a first offense on this? It's just difficult to double check in the field at the time that they have to make that
But
call.
yes, in court, in
Yeah.
terms of the prosecution
Yeah.
and the court process, I mean, the penalty for racing is up to $500 and up to 90 days in jail.
So the judge would have discretion to say like, hey, we've seen you here twice now.
Yeah.
Or 3 times.
Right.
Okay, so there is that discretion on the criminal side. I'm not usually one to be heavy-handed, but I feel like,
I mean, this
I
is where
just wanna
someone's
say,
taking other people's lives in
I'm
their
glad that
hands.
you've brought this to our table. On Memorial, between 51st and 81st in my community, we have had so many.
Yeah.
Just in the last 2 years.
Yeah.
Honestly avoidable injuries and death. And every time, I mean, the New Year's Eve one was at 8:30 in the evening. It wasn't, after midnight. And I'm not saying after midnight you should feel less safe. I'm just saying it was a little bit shocking that, 8:30, anyone could have just been driving home on New Year's Eve at 8:30.
Well, and you even have these tragic situations where people are intentionally doing tricks. There was one that the recorder was just telling me about, where you had a dad who was filming his
Yeah,
child
GoPros,
doing
yeah.
a trick and watched him die going at a dangerous speed in front of him.
Yeah,
Which
yeah,
is just
horrible.
horrific. Yeah, I think we just see, and it's especially, hey, if someone was only taking their own life in their hands, out away from other people, and they wanted to drive fast, like, I'm not saying that I encourage anyone to do that, but that would be one thing.
Right.
But we're a city. There's always, as was mentioned, there are always other cars, and so people are
And there's always first
endangering others.
responders
They're
that-
endangering others very
Yeah.
intentionally. And what's so interesting about the data and lit review that Captain Arnold had done is you just see time and again across the country that all of the other consequences do not cause a behavior change. This is seems to be one of the only things that makes someone stop engaging in this behavior. Especially, these are people who often can afford to pay citations. These are people who often have maybe an expensive racing vehicle. And so part of that's why some of those other consequences may not sway them, and why it's necessary to actually cause that much friction and additional steps as impoundment. So, yeah, I mean, I'm very pro going forward on the 10-day route.
I think the part that's very appealing to me is we're not changing the pursuit policy in order to enforce. It just empowers to have the tag, which is great.
Yes, and we've been asked in the public, well, can't you change that? And we don't
You don't
want to
want to,
because
it's
we know the
dangerous.
ramifications of doing that.
That's even more dangerous.
Yes, and so this'll give us that tool.
And then I have a byproduct that to me is not as much of a motivator for changing the policy, though I understand where I've had constituents already say that they would really like to see this partially because of the noise from racing that happens on Riverside and the IDL,
Sure.
on the BA. I live next to the BA, so I know what they're referring to.
Yeah.
That's obviously, I think, a additional bonus related to that kind of noise nuisance abatement if we can get less racing happening in our city, but more so, this will save lives for sure.
Bingo, and then Hall Harper.
Okay, so the intent is just to target the vehicle, so You don't have to prove who was actually driving the vehicle's a target completely.
Correct.
Okay, so dad loans his Challenger or whatever to the kid and, okay, so it's all off of the tag. So what if you have a paper tag, let's just say, for ignorance sake, because a lot of times you'll have some of these folks that have paper tags that you can't read the numbers. How do you deal with that?
Yeah, and we deal with that with a whole slew of different crimes. People intentionally know that's an aspect of being able to find who did it, and that's something we would just kind of cross the bridge on unless.
Well, so lots of riders obscure their tags, they put them at an angle that we can't see them.
Right.
Or the license plate readers can't see them. So those are, I don't wanna say this too loudly, but, you know, they get off that day because we don't know who they are, we don't know the vehicle exactly. And so hopefully those are few and far between, because if you're riding around with a illegal paper tag or an improper tag display, that's a PCable offense to stop them anyways.
Right.
So, but no, you're correct that if we can't identify the vehicle, then it wouldn't be included in this ordinance.
Right. That's my challenge to this is a little bit is people that, you know, are doing this type of thing are going to learn those different tricks to avoid that. And so that's my challenge to this. I totally agree with you, Counselor Dector, right? 10 days to me is very fair. Because to me, if you're endangering other people's lives, I think excessive speed, aggravated speed, what's that level?
20 over.
20 over.
Just twice
Right.
that.
Right, exactly. So what is it arrestable?
I'm sorry.
What speed is it arrestable?
Yeah, at 20
That's what I'm
over,
saying.
so, yeah,
And so
we're-
because of your pursuit policies, and I think I saw a video where an officer was driving down the VA, and this car was going so fast, you could hear the officer's dash cam, you could hear him accelerating just to start trying to catch up with this person, so.
And Counselor, that's exactly the reason why motorcycle pursuits are so dangerous, because they can accelerate so quickly.
Right.
That by the time we're closing speed, we're doing well over triple digits, and that's not safe.
It's
Especially for
challenging.
traffic offense.
And just like Counselor Bella said, I hear it all hours of the day and night, so 10 days is more than fair in my opinion. Quite frankly, 30 days in my opinion is fair.
I know, when I saw the
2 months-
California number, I was like, okay.
mean-
Well, if we find that 10 isn't effective, we can always come back and look at other, yeah.
I mean, you guys know what kind of car I drive. I don't drive like that.
No, I've.
Gas and tires cost money.
When we've left the same location to get back
Obviously learned
here,
that.
I usually get here first.
That guy though, right there, he made a post. He should be ashamed of.
But District 3 has all the tire shops you need to replace those tires.
You have the raceway too, for anyone that wants to race.
I know.
Okay, Hall, Harper, and then Dutton.
So how long has OKC, I agree 30 days, it should be minimum, but how long has Oklahoma City had their policy? And do they have numbers or statistics as it relates to its effectiveness?
Yeah, I can pull
Since
up.
implementing.
Do we know what, I don't know
Their
what
change.
Let me pull up their, because they initiated the policy, was it in 2024?
I believe 2024. That's the first year they collected a year's
They
worth of
collected
stats.
data, the one thing is I don't have their before data. I have how many vehicles they impounded in 2024 and how many in 2025.
When was that?
It was, they impounded 272 vehicles in 2024, 253 in 2025.
Vehicles or?
Vehicles.
Or motorcycles?
It's
I mean, this
just
is specific to
vehicles.
Any
This is
vehicle
just
that's
vehicles in
racing.
general.
That's racing, okay.
And that's largely due to pursuits and racing. There's is interesting, there's a high number for them in 2024 that says prostitution-related activity. Go figure. I don't think that's part of our ordinance. I'm just looking at
Like a
OKC's
sting
data.
operation.
Yeah. We'll leave that to Oklahoma City.
Oklahoma City has a bigger issue with street takeovers. And so theirs is more aimed at that. You know, the cars that will do donuts and take over and block all the streets and intersection. Theirs is more aimed at addressing that. Counselor?
So give them those numbers again,
So
from
they-
1 year to the.
So they
Which you don't
impounded
have before, so.
at 272 in 2024 and 253 in 2025. I will note, that's interesting, you do see them have this ramp up where it went from 2024, 1 street blocking impoundment to 2025, 66. So they have some different activities taking off. The best kind of just data from more like national studies and statistics really goes back to that California study about that just working as a behavior change driver. You see some other studies that look at that, and there's similar policies across the country in other cities where you like kind of the full literature kind of journal review that Captain Arnold did of all the data was just that, hey, this is the one mechanism that really seems to drive behavior change based on all the studies. But yeah, so I'm hearing people want to look at the 10-day one, and then if we get reports and if we think it's working or not, we can always look at
What's the difference, 15?
You wanna do 15, David?
I'm good with 10. I say start
I
at
want to be
10.
fair and rational. 10 days should be enough.
Yeah.
If
Right.
you can afford it.
They're not so if we can
Let's-
otherwise they
Well,
wouldn't be doing
I'd be
this type
curious
of
to know how
behavior.
many people that engage in this behavior have more than one vehicle with
Right.
which to
Yeah.
engage, but
Yeah,
10 would be better than what we have now, which is
Okay.
0.
So we're putting 10, and then I do want to thank, like, it's been so wonderful to work with you all on this, and, this went through a lot of work and research went into this, and then the traffic committee reviewed it, and they were really kind in pursuing my kind of amendment. Big addition to it was about not just the 40 over, but the twice the speed limit in kind of more neighborhood areas. So, which I'm excited to see, because I thought 40 over, when something's 25, even if you're going 50, that's already egregious in a 25, so.
I have a question.
Let me get
Oh,
done
sorry.
first, and then you, and then we gotta move
Yeah,
on,
no, no.
so
Yeah.
people.
Respect time and have lunch, yeah.
Yep.
So my question just has to do with enforcement. Is this something that police officers actually witness and then that allows them to pull them over? Are these calls from the public? How is that mitigated?
Good question. This would have to be something that an officer observed and verified. And so this couldn't just be based on somebody saying, I saw a car driving recklessly. We would have to observe it
Okay.
ourselves. Or in the case of when they cause a collision, that would,
Right.
and the investigation showed that excessive speed was a primary contributing factor. That would be one of the criterion.
Okay. So basically, it would need to be seen normally by officers. So if they're out on the streets, then they witness and not good. So there's probably a lot of numbers that actually do not get counted in the data.
Not at all.
Of violations, so it's probably what, double?
It's,
Triple?
so we have a call called COS, Check to Own Satisfaction, and that's when a citizen calls in and says, I saw a car driving recklessly, weaving in and out of traffic on the BA, or wherever. And if officers are nearby, then we try to find it, and that's what we do. But we lose more than we find, because they're already driving fast, and an officer may or may not be nearby.
So on the highways, is OHP also involved in that?
On I-44 and 244 inside the city, yes, ma'am.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Appreciate it.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, I had a kind of similar question. Like if somebody sends you a video of someone racing down the street at, really, really fast speed, you said observed. So I mean, can you observe it in person or observe it through video or?
Good question.
Yeah, we would want to make sure, just due to video issues of proof and everything, we would still want to be, we would want a law enforcement officer in person to observe that, or unless law enforcement intentionally set up some type of verified deal of, okay, if the camera's here and here's this, but again, we would want it to be law enforcement initiated, not please send us all your videos of reckless driving.
Like the real-time information center.
Yeah, something like that, but again, I think because of courtroom proof of speed, we would have to set that up initially to make sure we were absolutely sure about what the speeds are versus in person what we can do to verify those speeds.
Okay.
Right. Lots of trickery on videos now.
Yeah, exactly.
Did we determine if we're talking business days
think
or
calendar.
calendar days?
Calendar.
Calendar
Yeah.
days, okay.
I have one quick question. So somebody, just to what Ms. Davis was talking about, so you have a criminal side, you have an administrative side. The criminal side says, you're going to jail for 10 days. The administrative side says, you're losing your vehicle for 10 days, are those concurrent or consecutive?
They're separate
Two different
processes.
things.
But are they happening at this, like, is your 10 days in jail, the 10 days you don't have your car?
Well, it's more likely the impoundment would happen first. but-
Okay.
Okay, all right. So we don't need to deal with that.
So it could be 20 days, you don't have your car.
Yeah, well, that's fine with me.
Yeah.
If that's what the, if that's what that individual chose to do to
Yeah,
herself or herself.
exactly.
Okay, all right, thank you all very much.
Thank you,
Good job, Councilor
Thank
Bellers.
you, appreciate it.
Thanks for everyone's.
Next item, ordinance amending Title II relating to animals and nonprofits. Who's talking to us on this?
The Cliff Notes agenda readings.
The whole thing?
Sending me.
You don't have to, yeah, it saves a lot of time. We're plus 7 minutes by me not having to read,
Okay.
maybe.
I want you to do it in your best auctioneer voice. That's what I'm waiting for.
Oh, I'll work on it.
No, that's the.
Yeah, that's up to you.
Hey, bada, hey, bada. That's about what it is.
Turning to my.
I would just move to the next item. I don't see.
Nobody's here. Okay, item 19, resolution approving an economic development incentive for a portion of the costs of building and parking lot improvements totaling $2.5 million at Tulsa Hills.
This feels like it might be related to IKEA.
You know, really, guys.
What is a gift bag?
So I got a gift bag for you guys to share.
Oh, Swedish.
Swedish?
Some Swedish fish.
I told my daughter we'd
You
go
hear a lot better red dye
Swedish
this week.
Yeah.
Totally.
Yeah, oh my gosh. No Swedish meatballs?
No Swedish meatballs. I didn't want those in my pocket or my bag. I think they'd be so good to have.
Love these.
Are those?
That's awesome.
They're not.
All right, Aaron takes the cake on agenda item.
Go fish. I love them.
Oh, these guys really tore into that.
I saw that.
It's lunch.
No, I'll pass.
Yeah, I'm good. You guys can keep going. Would you like?
Okay,
You eat your rubber.
So,
proves that we can
it
be
says
bought.
Swedish on it. I guess the cat is out of the bag. This is part of the incentive for the, what we call the Swedish Fish Project, which is the IKEA retail store, a regional retailer. Just as some background, first of all, some shout outs. Where before there was an Aaron Pursley in Tulsa, partner Tulsa, Tulsa Remote, Type Rose, are working on trying to attract IKEA to Tulsa. And so this is kind of that, we're now crossing the finish line on that project. As some background, this project is going to the IKEA, the Belk store in Tulsa Hills, the former Belk store. That retailer was generating about $3 million annually in sales tax. The new IKEA store is estimated and projected to produce between $30 and $40 million in annual sales tax from
In
that.
sales that can't be taxed.
In sales that can't be taxed.
Yeah, because if it was
In
40 million
sales
in
tax,
sales
yeah.
tax, then-
Sales, it'd be
yeah, then
in
we're
sales.
saying yes right now.
So, $3 million in sales from the former Belks, 30 to 40 million in sales estimated from the new IKEA store. This incentive has really helped with the building out of that facility, plus some outside parking lot infrastructure work as well. This is a great project. It's a community project. A lot of people are involved in bringing this to fruition. I brought with me Michael Dickerson and Michael Heaton because these guys have been with us throughout this whole process from the legal side and incentive side. So I want to make sure to give them a shout out, as well as Karen and Michelle Barnett, who are behind me as well, for the work they've done on this project as well. So we've actually talked about this individually to, I think, most of you. And so any questions you have, I'm happy to answer.
Well, like I said, thank you for the hard work. Very excited, extremely excited. I was gonna just have you mention the 3 million generated by Belk versus the 33 million. Just, it's a tremendous driver of economic development. Can you maybe talk about some of the additional retailers that this may attract, or just when you put something like this in the midst of a retail center, what are some of the second and third order effects that it could have?
So actually, I also want to give a shout out to the direct retail partners who kind of shepherded this project for the city and for Tulsa Hills. They actually did an economic impact study, so they have indirect impacts for this project as well. They are saying that the indirect impacts are going to be 100 to 120 million in indirect impacts to other retailers in and around the area. Don't forget, this is a regional project. So other states, other areas around us are coming to shop at this IKEA. Also, don't forget that when things are shipped here from other areas, that sales tax comes to Tulsa as well. And so this really is a project that benefits the city's general fund well.
I'm just thinking, if you live in Rogers or Eufaula or wherever, instead of going to Dallas or Kansas City, you can come to Tulsa.
And I've met people who said, you know, I drive to Dallas to the IKEA all the time, who live here in Tulsa. I also like to mention all those husbands who've come up to me during the past couple of weeks and said, what have you done to me? I'm going to be putting furniture together every weekend now, so I want to give them a shout out as well.
They can come to Shields and
I was gonna say, so you're saying IKEA is gonna do for Tulsa Hills what Shields did for Woodland Hills, basically?
Close. I think the last time I checked the annual sales for the Shields, they were about $65 million.
That's what I'm
first
saying.
year,
So, but comparatively, that's what the impact would be.
On a square foot basis.
Yep.
It's a little different.
A lot different.
51,000.
well, and also a draw.
Exactly.
Like,
Right. That regional draw.
what's the regional? Do they have a number?
They didn't have
100 miles or?
They didn't have the radius of how many miles.
Okay. Well,
That's what I remember.
I mean, right now people plan weekend trips to
Correct.
Dallas
That's
to
true,
go
yeah.
get, so, yeah, I assume
Yeah.
people.
And
Shoot, I plan weekend trips just to go down Tulsa.
That's what I was gonna say, it'll be a suit for me to go
To get
south of
boxes to bring
41st.
home.
Yeah.
my very last shout out is going to be to the council. So just, I think Phil knows this process. We had a deadline of Thursday, about a month ago, to get this deal done, and we weren't there. And on a Friday, I was sitting in a meeting with Phil and with Carol Bush, and he mentioned some funding that may be available in the council. And it was from that call, I literally in that meeting am texting the guys from Direct Retail Partners saying, hold on, I think we've got it.
Wow. The
And so
miracle, the miracle.
That's what got us over
It was a miracle.
the finish line. So I want to appreciate the leadership of the council in making this possible. So thank you very much.
And our council administrator.
Our council
as well.
administrator
And-
probably.
oh,
provided
he
some
can never forget Sarah Davis,
I'm
who's
guessing.
the driver. So thank you all.
If it was a thought in my brain, it was probably a thought in her brain first. So,
The neck that turns
credit
the
where
head.
credit is due. Can you just help us understand why incentives like this are important?
Yeah, so anytime
What are we up against? What are you guys up against as you try to land things like this? Because I am getting questioned, why do we have to pay people to come here? You know, why do you have to pay players to go play at certain universities across the country as well?
Right, it's exactly the same kind of concept.
Yeah.
There's that, you're trying to attract the top talent to your city, or the top retailers to your city. And guess what? Every other city is trying to do the exact same thing. And many of them can outspend us. And for the record, we did not meet the number that they needed to make this happen. It was other things that Tulsa had to help that come to fruition. And so the reason you need incentives is because it's part of the game. You know, constantly when I was at the state level in Kentucky, I'm competing against Texas, I'm competing against Louisiana. These guys have money to burn on projects, North Carolina. And when you don't have those type of incentives, sometimes you can't get those projects because, you know, a lot of people have a building that's 51,000 square feet. A lot of people have access to power and water. Sometimes an incentive is how you differentiate yourself from the other competitors in the market, which goes to my broader stump speech of the reason we need a stronger incentive program for the city of Tulsa overall. If we're going to attract bigger projects to Tulsa, we have to realize it's a competitive game. Economic development is a contact sport, and we're competing constantly with other people, and we need those tools in our toolkit to make sure that we can be winners and have the right to win certain projects.
Chelsea, Dr. Wright?
That
Thank
leads
you.
to my question. So from Vision Tulsa, we have the retail redevelopment funds. Is it about 3 million? Or what is it?
3.6.
3.6? And it's a revolving fund, is that right?
Well, yeah, but it's already revolved once
Right.
and is now being repurposed.
Right.
Mhm.
So I just did want to iterate that, like, with the vision of 2016, 10 years ago, at least we seeded a thing. But
Yep.
when you say we need more to be competitive, what are you talking about?
I'm talking about quite frankly, a closing fund that's close to 20 million dollars. That would include loans that would come back to the city and some grants
Yeah.
as well.
I think the other thing, because I have constituents ask me that as well with the Shields deal, and it's, as long as we fund everything that we need to fund with retail sales tax, we have to do these things, right? I mean, it's one thing to say our community would like to have this retailer, but from a business and fiduciary responsibility standpoint, if we're not attracting retail to our side of the line, especially on the border districts, those dollars are going, I mean, I think that's why a lot of people were kind of upset about the outlet deal, right? Now, what I've also had to reassure people is that's the same entity that we have at Woodland Hills Mall. They're not gonna cannibalize their business. It's gonna synergize, and I think we've seen that. But, as long as our revenue structure is the way it is, until the state changes it, we're gonna have to compete like this and punch above our weight, it sounds like, continually. And I think the intangibles, that make us more desirable than maybe some other big cities are also things we gotta continue to invest in.
And to Councilor Archie's point, at a certain point, when you attract a retailer like IKEA, other retailers want to be here.
Yeah, to
And so-
compete.
So you're not incentivizing them to come here because they want to be here because there's a regional retailer that's close by that they can attract foot traffic from as
Yeah.
well. So it kind of works together.
Synergy.
And a lot of companies have corporate policies, like Apple has a policy where they try to be located within a 1 mile radius of a Lululemon.
Oh, okay. Well, that's interesting.
Perfect, yeah.
So Lululemon is driving where Apple is locating. Yeah.
Is there a Lululemon in Woodland Hills?
Nope.
No, I think they were,
It's in
Lulu
Brookside.
didn't come until after
And that's
Apple.
about 10 miles away or 9 miles away.
Yeah.
That's interesting.
Okay, anybody else, anyone else? Okay.
Congratulations, I
Thank
noticed
you
you're all
very
wearing
much.
the blue and gold. I hope that's for city.
With no further business before
No,
us, no
don't.
animal
Oh,
people
hold on.
here?
Don't adjourn yet. On 18, can we move that to committee on the 4th? And then we just need guidance if you want to leave it on first read tonight and then address it next week with committee, or do you want to take it off of first read?
I'd
You
leave
can
it
make-
on, we can always,
Okay.
yeah.
Is it the working group that's bringing it to us?
I think the working group has been, so this was actually one of the objectives of the mayor council retreat
Yeah.
last year. I think it has gone through, like, the working group has been notified of it, but I think you need the animal welfare staff
Yeah.
here to, or animal
is
services
part of
staff
what
to
Yeah.
explain it.
But there's at least 4 counselors that have been working on this
All
to
right,
some extent.
Yeah, I think they were
Okay.
notified of it, so.
you get the direction you needed?
Yes.
No further business, we are adjourned.